Buongiorno.
All right, everybody, what's going on? Here we are. It's Sunday night, and it's October 17th, 2021, and it is the man, the myth, and the true legend himself's birthday, the one and only Evel Knievel. And back in the Totally Driven Radio days, we used to do these amazing, fun get-togethers to celebrate the lifetime's craziness, wackiness, and stories of the one and only Evel Knievel. And we figured for his birthday we would do it again, but now we get to see everybody as we do it. There were supposed to be a few others of us on here, but due to connections and stuff like that, sadly we lost them. Scott Truax. We'll give him a quick shout out before we get started. Scott, the man who built the rocket that launched Eddie Braun over the canyon, could not build an internet connection to be part of the show. Scott, we love you. We miss you. And, you have the link. If you can pop on, if you can walk around your backyard and get a good spot for us, you're more than welcome.
Perhaps Eddie is braver than we thought.
You can't figure out where to put the steam in the laptop.
You're right. There you go.
Exactly.
So let's go around the room. Let me introduce first the man who's been talking to me for a year now about doing these shows again. My official co-host for tonight, my good friend, the Pitbull himself, and he's right in my view. He's underneath me in our little Brady Bunch circle over here. The one and only Pitbull, Mr. Henry Rife. Henry, thank you always for doing what you do and pushing me to do these shows.
Well, unfortunately, I am the reason it started late because Apple is Apple. But we'll strive on, and I'm just tickled to see all you guys, and we'll work the bugs out, and we'll get more people on. We'll talk about Evel some more. But right now, it's birthday time, so let's get to it.
Absolutely. And well, speaking of birthday time, I'm going to jump over into the corner, actually over this way. This guy, which actually, thank you, he sent me this killer great Evel Knievel shirt many years ago. He's one of the super fans. He's been involved in a lot of Evel Knievel stuff. He's actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's been to the Evel Knievel Museum before I have, and he's helped gather some memorabilia for that. And it's also his birthday today. So happy birthday to Mr. Wembley, who lives in England, but he's in Africa, South Africa, and he's having a party, but he's hanging out with us tonight. So it's like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning there. Thank you. Cheers and happy birthday, my friend.
Happy birthday, Brian.
That's where
Thank you, and happy birthday, everybody. Thank you for. Yes, it's completely ridiculously late here where I am, and I'm on holiday celebrating my birthday and our favourite person in the world, Evel Knievel's birthday, 17th of October. So here we go.
Brian, do me a favor. Do me a favor.
What favour would you like?
Show everybody how big a fan of Evel Knievel you actually are.
I can do fan stuff. I mean, there's a T-shirt.
Yeah.
A tattoo.
There's like
Don't fall in the pool.
The Kenny.
That's the
awesome.
Wembley.
And then there's like a.
Don't get us kicked off.
He's going to fall in the pool. Don't fall
in the pool. It's my birthday. I'm drunk. What do you want?
Hey, bravo. How old are you today?
I'm extremely old. I think it's in the 50s. So we'll go with that.
All right.
Nice. All right, so let's hang tight. Just sip on those drinks slowly right now, Brian. We're going to go down to the bottom corner, look, figuring out the angles. To a man who, thanks to the world of Evel, I've become friends with. This guy, a true super fan. He is an admin of many of the Evel Knievel groups on Facebook. He's also pumping out those Evel Knievel videos at time to time with the toys, and just an all-around great guy. And it's a pleasure and honor to have him on here with us, Mr. Cameron Gruber. Cameron, thanks for joining the party.
Thanks so much. Great to be here. Great to see my Facebook friends and hear them. It's great.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, thanks to these things, usually it's just a message here or there between us, but now we actually get to see each other and talk to each other.
Cool.
So it's good.
Pretty cool. I got to say, I've known Cameron for, how long has it been, Cam? It's since what? I was on David Letterman around there. That's when we started talking.
Yeah, a little. I was going to say where I kind of got involved with was Color Me Lucky and Bob Cook's Ultimate Evel Knievel page, and then Legends page particularly. That's where I really started making connections with Scott Wiley, Barry Mueller, Brian Richards, and I got to know Mike a little bit, and you, and I started like, whoa, this is really cool. I just kind of like got lucky. It just fell into my lap, and I think mostly just because I didn't ask too stupid of questions, everybody kind of like said, okay, welcome aboard.
Super nice guy. I've always enjoyed talking to him, and he has a wealth of like Brian and really Mike here. He's Mike lived it. So we get to hear all kinds of cool stories, and these guys are, wow, this is what keeps Evel alive. And these new kids. I asked a little kid the other day, I said, you know who Evel Knievel is? He goes, yeah, I've never seen Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh boy. On that note, let us introduce the true star of the celebration, a guy who I've been honored to have communications with by doing these shows, and we've had many hours of conversations on these shows. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs, a lot of great stories. The one and only Mr. Mike Draper. Mike, thank you again for doing this.
Thanks.
So, I guess we should ask Mike first off. Since it is Evel's birthday, when you were in the fold of the world of Evel Knievel, working for Evel, was there like big blowout celebrations for his birthday?
Not too much on that, but I remember on my 20th birthday, he threw me a birthday party. We were at a big restaurant and stuff, and all the I can't think of the guy that ran the promoter and stuff. It was Ken something. But anyway, he had all those guys get up, and they sucked helium in and sang me happy birthday. So, and then they had
Oh, that's great. That's so great. Like now how old were you when you worked with Evel? You just said 20 years old.
Well, it was my 21st birthday, but it was 20 years old when I actually went to work for him.
The funny question I was actually thinking of, like, as we were getting closer to this, I was saying to myself, like, how did you get the job of working for Evel? Because it's not like, today everybody goes online, they apply for jobs, or before the internet, it was you fill out an application. Like, I'm sure you didn't fill out an application and end up working for him. Like, how did you get the job working for Evel?
Well, I worked for the Harley Davidson store out of Wichita, Kansas, and his name was Hugo Shea, and he had had a bunch of dealerships in Oklahoma City, Wichita, and Hutchinson, I think it was. And he always promoted the Camel Pro Series motorcycle flat trackers. Mm-hmm. And he started out in Winfield, Kansas, his hometown, and put it on down there. And it actually got too big to go down there in Winfield. So then he was thinking about Hutchinson. And that's where, Jay Springer, Roger Riemann, Bart Markle, and some others is where I met them. But I used to work on golf carts, Harley Davidson golf carts for Hugo, and drove this big semi that golf courses would need extra golf cars and stuff. So I would usually go to those in Oklahoma, and we used to set up all the loudspeakers and stuff, and then I actually went to Houston. This has been when he jumped in. Evel jumped in Houston or Dallas or the Houston Astrodome.
Okay.
We went down there because Evel or Hugo wanted something to go on at his halftime, and they Harley Davidson was telling him about. Well, there's a new guy that just crashed out in Las Vegas, and he would be, you might get a hold of him. So we went to, I think it was in 60. When did Evel jump in Houston?
It was like 71, I think, Mike, because he was Harley Davidson, but it still had a big old front disc brake, and it was still the iron head.
Yeah, we went down there with Hugo, his wife Thelma, my dad, my mom, and to see this motorcycle jumper, and to see if he would perform in Hutchinson. And I never knew it was going to be, I never had heard of Evel Knievel, and so when I saw him and stuff, I was pretty impressed. But that's where Lee actually was too. Lee had got laid off from Boeing, and he was doing some stuff for Hugo, and because we take a lot of equipment to the motorcycle races and stuff, and we had a display up at Hutchinson too for the fairs and stuff, because he was the Harley Davidson dealership up there too. So, but anyway, I continued on to Lee got a job with Evel when he left, and was leaving and stuff, and he asked Lee if he's ever drove a truck, and he said, well, yeah. And it was actually the one that he drove the semis up there for Hugo's and stuff to Hutchinson from Wichita. And then Lee got on the road, and he called back about, I think it was in late 71 or 72, I think it was, first part of 72, when he called up and asked me how would you like to go to work for Evel? And I said, I don't know. And he said, well, he needs a co-driver, and I thought of you. So, well, the rest is history.
Wow.
So it was actually like in the first part of 72 and stuff. And we, the first month that I worked for Evel, he was jumping at Atlanta, Georgia, and he overjumped the ramp and broke his back and was in the hospital. And I thought, there goes that job. But it was kind of neat. It was, and from there they went to Oklahoma City for Hugo, and he jumped at the Oklahoma State Fair.
So you were like, I mean, let's face it. We at that age, at 20, 21 years old, you think you know everything. We think we own the world. But looking back at it now, I mean, you were a kid going into this crazy world of entertainment that at that point, that realm of entertainment hadn't really not really been touched. And Evel, the originator, the true originator of it, he really turned it all upside down. So you had no idea you were truly joining this crazy circus ride.
Well, and Lee was already worked for him for a year and stuff. So I was kind of doing whatever Lee would tell me to do, set up the ramps, and unpacking the truck, Lee had done it quite a little bit, and he knew where everything was at. And but I always thought, my job was to make Evel look good. And, whether his hair was messed up or he had something on his shirt or something, I would point it out before he got on camera. And, and I think that was Lee's deal too, whatever he did. And, when he rode up the ramp and Evel would just jump up on the seat and you had to steady the bike and stuff. And, but I remember that time that always took it, when to pull the pin on the parachute. Because, he would run up the ramp, and then when he went up and he slid back down the ramp, holding the brake on, I knew that that's when he was going to jump. And then he'd wave me out and we'd pull a pin, and then he would do it, pop the chute and everything. But that was my big deal, to gather the chute up, and Lee took but there one day, I can't think it was Madison Square Garden, whatever it was, at Cow Palace. That used to be my big cue to go out there and do that. Well, he slid up and slid down the ramp, and I thought, well, I need to go out there. He waves me over, and he says, keep my motorcycle running. And he waved both Lee and I over there. And he got back up on the ramp, which he's never done before. And he got a microphone, and boy, when it got quiet in there, and he says, I knew there'd be a day that would come that I'd be too scared to jump. And then, boy, and everybody got real quiet in there. And then he says, but tonight's not the night. And dropped the deal, and I thought, oh my God, and then I pulled a pin on the deal, and he was successful in his jump. So,
was there any of the jumps that you thought to yourself, like, yeah, this going into it, like, nah, this isn't going to end good?
Well, the first one in Alabama and stuff at that racetrack, when he overjumped the ramp and everything, Lee would always, he got pretty good about estimating mine. The speed guns and stuff, that wasn't around then, and no speedometer and stuff. Evel always went with how it felt and everything, but he was used to the lead sled 750, and he got his new aluminum, and he just didn't know that was more powerful than that. And Lee would take his fingers and go out, wider and stuff, faster. And I knew when he took off down there, it was just running way too fast to practice jump. And he did. I mean, he overjumped the ramp and landed clear down on the end, and that's the first time I ever seen him crash.
Oof.
Not the last, but the first.
Right, right. Is that something that, like, when he did happen to crash, was it something that you ever got used to?
No.
Yeah.
I thought, why is that guy punishing his body? Because I walked up the ramp one time and looked across there, and I thought, no way. I said, that's a long ways across there. And I said, that I'll just, cater to the guy that's doing this, and whatever he wants.
But after a while, he becomes your friend. So that's your friend out there getting hurt, maybe getting killed. So there's a whole different dimension in it, right?
Yeah. And it's because when he get off by himself, over at a table or something, and Lee and I get to talk to him, he turned into Bob Knievel. And then when the fans would come around, he turned back into Evel. But once you made friends with him, like Earl Castine did, Carl Green, he trusted, that you would do what you were supposed to be doing for him. Mm-hmm. And so, in fact, he used to come out and eyeball the ramps every time. He was really a pain in the butt by doing it that way, because he'd put his cane on it, and line them up, and then finally, I thought, the ramps and stuff, he gets some people, the fans standing around him, and, when they're doing practice jumps and stuff, they'd come out and move the ramps. It took quite a few people that took a forklift to move them. So they'd get people out of this, they were standing around, to help move them deals, and he'd be standing up there, and he'd be standing on the landing ramp, and, and waving back and forth. And finally, Lee marked the legs one time before Evel got there, because we already set the ramps out, and he moved those ramps, And then when he finally got them back, they were back in the same place that he'd marked on the ground. So he got to trusting us, about putting those in. He would never show up until he stayed at the hotel and did press conferences and stuff like that, and come out there, and he got up there and looked and crossed, and they were right on. We used to take Lee had come up with a plumb bob and a snap line, and we'd snap line those deals and underneath the cars, or before the cars got in there, and then we'd use the plumb bob to, you put this on a plumb bob, and got it straight with this line, you plumb bobbed it to the other end, and those were straight. We didn't use a surveyor's deal or anything.
That's the way I did it. Exactly.
Yep.
I wanted to let Brian or Cameron, please ask some questions, because I know you guys are limited on time, especially birthday boy over there.
Go ahead, Brian.
So I'm wondering, Mike, did you ever wonder if you wanted to go to London? Was that ever on your radar? Did you think you wanted to go there?
Well, he called me back out. I worked for the sheriff's office when I left before, and I didn't work continuously for Evel. I worked for him for about 2 years continuously, and then he, would send us home, and Lee didn't come back, and I came back to him, because he said he wanted to, because I was working for the sheriff's office, and the dispatcher asked me one time, says go to a pay phone, and she says, I'm not making this up. I just got a call from Evel Knievel, and she goes, you know him? And I go, yeah, I used to work for him. He says, well, he wants you to call this number right away. And I did. I called him, and he was going to go to Japan, and he wanted to know if I wanted to come back to work for him. And so I went back and went for him, and I had to get a passport and all, I made all kinds of plans for it and everything. And that never materialized, because he said it'd cost a fortune to ship it to Japan, the truck, all the equipment and everything. And he wanted the promoter to pay for all that. And the guy goes, nah, we ain't doing that. So we never did go to Japan, but with him being in trouble with the deal, I didn't get to make the Canyon, because I was working for the sheriff's office. That was in 74. And we watched it on pay-per-view, and I didn't go to Kings Island or Canada, but he got the John Hood to go to England, which he couldn't ask for a better guy.
And John Hood was like a good driver for the Big Red.
Yeah, he was when they shipped it over to England, he was the one that delivered it to the port there. And
John told me that when he drove Big Red to England, he had to start out in the US, and there was a massive snowstorm, and he had to take Big Red through the snow and everything all the way to New York for the dock, and then to take it across the ferry to England. It was like a crazy big rig to take through some extreme, like, snowstorms. Did you ever hear about that?
Well, Lee had taken it through the mountains and stuff, in a snowstorm, and I wasn't with him and stuff, but he was talking about coming down this hill, and he's supposed to have chains on and stuff, and we never did use chains on our truck. I mean, that's maybe it's a violation and stuff, but he told us, he says he was coming down the hill, and he says we were, he's pulling on the air brakes on the trailer and stuff, and there's a wreck down at the end, and that he was heading towards, and he said I was just aiming for going between the cars, and I guess he did it without touching either one of them and sliding right through there. But wow. Yeah, that's and I can ask Henry about that. If people pulling doubles, the truck was like 32 feet long and the trailer was 30, and it gets kind of squirrely when you do that, and been back there and look in the mirror and stuff. He
Did you ever
said
get
one time, I think he was
driving
joking about it, but he come up with a deal. He says, at one time, I could see in the rearview mirror and read Evel Knievel on the side of the trailer. And I thought, whoa. So he was probably joking about it, but that sounded pretty close to it. You know, he said that's how out of control it was and sliding around.
So, Mike, did you ever get a ticket for driving Big Red?
No. Well, over length and stuff, I did that, but I know we'd back east and everything. 60 feet was the longest that you could be, and or 55 foot was as long as you could be. And here we were at 62 feet long, and we were at a way station and stuff, and but they used to penalize us for that and everything. So we had to go down to the service station at the truck stop and get a permit. They faxed it back to us. And then sometimes we'd have to rent a tractor to disconnect from Big Red and haul it across state line and then hook back up. Because and then one time I got stopped in Big Red and the highway patrol, and it was one of those states that we, over length, and it had an air fifth lock on it, unlocked the lock. So when I stopped, I locked the coach up, to the truck, the brakes on it, and then locked the brakes on the trailer and unlocked the fifth wheel, and then drove the truck backwards toward the trailer. And this is all while the highway patrolman's calling it all in and stuff. And I don't think he noticed the truck was moving back without the trailer coming back towards his patrol car. And I shortened it up. And when you shorten it up, you can't turn the truck very tight. So Leroy gets out and he's going along there and he says, I need to measure your truck and everything. And he got out, the trooper got out his tape measure and stuff. And Leroy, was grabbing the end of it to hopefully stand at the front because the other trooper hadn't shown up yet. So Leroy was helping the trooper measure the length of it. Well, he was standing up there at the wheel, and then he stuck his arm out when the guy got to the back. And before the trooper looked up, Lee had dropped the tape and everything, and he didn't know what he was doing. He's like, boy, I said, I wound his tape back up. He said, I could have sworn that truck was longer than that. And then they took Leroy to the way station or the truck stop to get the permit. And so they just kind of turned around on the road, and the other trooper showed up, and he says, my partner's going to block the road for you in the center of the highway so you can turn that around. And I thought, oh man, it's shortened up. I said, I don't want to run the coach. So I thought, here we go. So I unlocked the fifth wheel and pulled the truck out. And then the trooper was just making amazing faces over there. Like, what, is that going on? And so I could make that U-turn. And when we got down to the truck stop, that guy says, what did you do? And I said, I told him, I said, well, in an emergency where you had to turn that tight, I said, I unlocked the fifth wheel and turned it real sharp. I says, if we don't, but I said, we always keep it closed up when we drive. And he bought that. He said, well, that's kind of clever. And I thought, yeah, you don't know how clever that is. So, yeah, because it would probably, it would turn into the coaching stuff and
yeah.
But the first time I met Brian was in Evil Days in Butte, Montana, with George Sedlak, and we ate at the only restaurant in Butte that was open at the time. I didn't even know they had a Denny's, but
I remember it well.
Yep. And we all went in. Oh, and Robbie Hull was with us.
That's it.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe he was from England. Had spent all that money to come to Evil Days. But how many times did you go to Evil Days? I met you there twice.
every year that ever was on. I mean, why would you not know?
Now, is that a dedicated fan or what? So
Yeah,
He was at the grand opening of the museum in Topeka with us.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's looking very much like he looks right now.
I'm immortal. I never change, you know. I kind of got this Time Lord thing going on. So,
had a great time with them. Yeah, we spent, how many days was that? 4 days?
It was 4 days.
It was 4 days.
It kind of started off when, you know, when I was a little kid, and we're doing this whole show tonight, remembering Evel Knievel's birthday, like today, 17th October, and which happened to be my birthday. So that was kind of how it started for me, you know, being a little kid and learning my birthday was the same as Evel Knievel's. And then the rest of my life was all about like reminiscing and thinking about Evel. And as I got older and the whole kind of world opened up to being on the internet and stuff like that. So finally, when we got to go to America and have this kind of thing where I met all these people that were on board with Evel Knievel and the whole thing that I was involved with. So,
did you get to meet him, Brian?
Say again?
Did you get to meet him?
No, I never ever did. It was the one thing that was kind of like the big mess up in my life. But do you know what? They say that you should never ever meet your heroes, and that's kind of, oh, you know, I'll take that.
I was told that very thing. They said if you meet him, they said his name's Evel for a reason. He's prone to outbursts and temper and all that. I gotta say, when I met him, that guy couldn't have been any nicer to me. He was great.
Yeah, and I'm thinking the same thing too.
Yeah, I enjoyed it immensely, and that was one of the big, great things I ever did in my life was meet him and have him know who I was, and just freaked me out.
One thing I was wondering, Brian.
The stuff that I've been involved with Lathan and Robbie, when we started to do the whole demonstration of all the stuff we'd acquired and all the things that we put on display at Evel Days that then suddenly developed into the Evel Knievel Museum. It was kind of like, that meant so much to me. That meant like everything. All the fans I'd wanted for. Everyone had wanted an Evel Knievel museum for years and years and years, and it never happened. It was this kind of thing that would like never materialize, and it was a thing that was a dream, and all of a sudden, this time happened, and it was just perfect timing. All these people came together all at the same time, and it was myself, Robbie, Hull, Lathan McKay. And we kind of got this vibe going, and we put on a display at Evel Days. And then all of a sudden, everybody jumped in, all the people that were all involved in the Evel world. And it just came together. And all of a sudden, everything happened. And I'm so honored to be involved with this Evel Knievel world of explosion that now happens to be the Evel Knievel Museum. And
Brian,
I'm so proud. I'm so proud, and I love all.
I got to ask Brian this because I'm sure, you know, like with Henry and Cameron, you know, for us, probably, you know, the first time we really learned about Evel Knievel was probably watching Wide World of Sports as a little kid.
Yep.
Brian, did you get Wide World of Sports over there in England?
We had a show called The World of Sport. It wasn't the Wild World, but it was The World of Sports, and it did show Evel Knievel, and it was kind of a really weakened down version of what Evel did.
Okay.
You know, it was an English, not American show, but we did have Evel Knievel over here. And I was probably kind of like 7 or 8 years old when that happened, but it was seen on TV. You know, some guy on a crazy motorbike jumping. You know, it was the best thing ever.
Absolutely.
Well, the first time I made it to Evil Days, we with Lathan, and they put that display on inside of an abandoned bank, the Sky Cycle and stuff, and that turned out to be a pretty slick deal. And then remember, you used to give away. You had Evil. Yeah, I still got my wristband from you that you gave to me. And
Me too.
Me too.
He would have me set up in the cab and turn the basket and stuff, and he'd pick out names and stuff, and then take them off a list and send them a T-shirt or whatever it was. See what they'd want.
I used to run a fan page where every month I would do like a draw and give a prize out every week. And when I was doing that from England, it was kind of small fry America people that were like Evel Knievel celebrities to do the draw and like pick a number from the ball and give out prizes. So every month I was giving. While I was in America, it suddenly elevated to this thing where, you know,
I never won one.
So close.
Times.
Neither did I, but I shamed him out of a bracelet.
Me too. I see my name in the pile one time, and he didn't pull it, and I'm, what the hell?
Brian's always been a generous guy with some of his things, and just always outgoing. He got me onto some of the pages as well, and I just was amazed that when I sent him a poster of Evil's jump in Dallas at North Richland Hills, then he put it on his page and stuff. So that made me feel really good, Brian. So I mean, I still take a lot of pride in. It wasn't anything super great, but you said, "Look here," you know, like so pretty exciting. So thanks, man.
You're welcome, Cameron.
We've actually worked on some
Evel Knievel here, you know. I mean, everything that we do, we kind of like follow in the footsteps of some guy that was like the super craziest, awesome, amazing stuntman ever. You know, he just got on a bike and he created this wild style lifestyle that we love. And there's this whole crazy world that happens now. You know, there's all these crazy daredevils that jump now, and they're not even daredevils. They just, you know, they jump
now.
miles. There's only ever one guy that was the daredevil. He was the daddy, and we all know it, and we all grew up knowing it, and we all bought the toys, and we all bought into the whole thesis of what he did, and he was the most amazing role model, like this guy that just was the best bloke you could ever imagine in your lifestyle. And it's all gone now. You know, we all live in this world now where everything's like, oh, you can't do this, can't do that. But we all reminisce and we all hark back to the days of this man, Evel Knievel. The coolest name you could ever imagine on everybody ever. Evel Knievel.
Brian, what was the one?
And that's it. That's what unites us. I'm the other side of the world to you guys, and we're all still like believing in this one man who united us and set the standard for what is a human being in this world today. And I absolutely swear by it, and I set my laws down by it. My whole breath is about Evel Knievel. He's the man. He's the man.
Do you remember, Brian, what was the spark? What was the first thing? Do you remember the first thing?
The first thing for me was when I was 7 years old and I realized I had the same birthday as Evel Knievel. October 17th. Let's talk about today. My birthday, Evel's birthday, and that's what happened for me.
That's a hell of a connection, because how many of us, like, I know for myself, like growing up, I was like, damn, like I wish there was a celebrity like that had the same birthday as me. And then like years later, I discovered, oh, I share the same birthday as Al Pacino, but I would have rather shared Evel Knievel's birthday than Al Pacino. No offense to Pacino.
Yeah, I got that birthday. Jackpot.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, mine's Easter. So
That's the whole thing.
The first time I saw Evel was in '73 at LA Coliseum, but I wasn't in LA, but I was watching on TV. And I also saw Mike Draper doing a thing of great trust. Evel trusted him to hang on to a bike that was like way up all these steps and didn't drop him. And that was amazing. Although I didn't know who Mike Draper was, and I didn't really know who Evel Knievel was, but I really, like Brian, really dug the name, and my parents weren't very hip on that. And so they were trying to keep me away from jumps and toys and anything with the word evil, because we grew up in church and stuff. So I was not doing a lot of that. But later on, they changed their mind, especially after the Canadian jump, when Evel talked about, not drinking and not doing drugs. And everybody, you guys already know all that stuff. But getting back to Mike, when I watch you on the film, Mike, you don't look scared at all being on that platform grabbing Evel's bike. I mean, you've driven a big truck and all that crazy traffic, and then you've been up on a big platform far up above the stadium. What was more freaky?
Well, neither one. I mean, the other one was driving in traffic and stuff with that, having a responsibility to get it. I was in New York City one time with it and driving by myself, and I got on a side street and it takes forever to turn that truck around. I mean, a corner, and everybody was honking their horns, and I'm thinking, God, how am I going to get around this corner? Well, there was one real car that some guys come along, college guys, and help bounce that up on the curb, so I could go around the corner. And I thanked them profusely, and so, but that's the only time that I thought was like, what am I going to do? And then that deal standing up on top of the ramp, it was with, there was a guy that worked for Cycle News, and I found out later on that he was actually the editor of it, Bob Bitchin Lipkin. He was the guy in the blue jacket that's up there with me, and that's that famous or infamous picture of us at the top of the ramp, catching him and running him back down. And then when he was testing the ramp out, he was kind of playing around, and he dropped it and slid sideways and dropped it down into the seats, and it broke a couple of the back of the seats off and everything. But the bike survived. I mean, it finally got stopped down on a couple of deals. And we had to go up there and get that, and that was scary, to drop it down that ramp or guide it down the ramp.
And it looked like you were like wearing looked like hard-soled shoes. I mean, so were you wearing sneakers? And I just couldn't tell. That you just can't tell on the video what you're really wearing, but they didn't look like something that was like meant for walking up a wooden ramp.
Well, they were boots, black Wellington boots.
Okay.
And then we got T-shirts any place from Harley Davidson and stuff, and then the dealerships and everything. We usually wore the T-shirts that they gave us and stuff, so we could advertise for them. Wish I still had some of them.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, let me ask you this, because at that time, especially in the 70s, Elvis being the king of rock and roll and the icon, especially at that time, he had the leather jumpsuit, the 70s, and Evel had his red, white, and blue leathers. The whole Memphis Mafia was a thing with Elvis, and I'm sure Henry's mom especially would like to know this. Was there like a Butte, Montana Mafia with Evel's crew? You know what I mean? Like, did Evel have his own little mafia crew compared to like Elvis's Memphis Mafia?
Well, statute of limitations haven't run out yet, so. But they had a code there, because he used to be a miner and worked in. Supposedly, there was somebody from Butte that helped hold down Saltman, and they called me up immediately and said, "Oh, "You're not in jail." And he says, "Were you holding on to that guy?" And I says, "No." I said, "That was somebody from Butte." And I guess somebody probably knows who it is, but I don't.
Interesting.
But that's the code that they had in Butte. We take care of it ourselves.
Right.
And Evil got that wild hair to do that, and so he took care of it.
Now, how about speaking of that incident, after that happened, what were you? What did you personally think? Were you like, oh man, like?
Well, he was on. When I went back out there, we stayed at the Sheraton Universal, and they sent him to court and stuff, and he got out on bond and work release, and he went over to a place called Ralph Andrews Productions, and that guy had Jamie Farr at his office there. I met him, and the guy that played Tarzan, he was Jackie Gleason's son, and I can't think of his name, but he actually played Tarzan.
Ron Ely, or is it a different Tarzan?
Different Tarzan. He didn't play very much, but
okay.
That's the guy that played Junior in Smoking the Bandit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know that guy.
Yeah, the guy that Jackie Gleason said, "I can't believe that you came from my loins." So
that guy played Tarzan?
Yeah. He was jacked.
Really?
Dude, he looked like a pro wrestler. He was jacked.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He was more than Johnny Weissmuller. I mean, as far as looking like deals. But it was kind of a deal. And then when I used to take him back and forth to the jail, to get him checked back in, and we'd have dinner and stuff. And LA County Jail was where he had to be back in, and he'd go over there and make a big deal, take all these rings off and sign some posters and stuff. And because they'd gather there at the jail, and he was doing that a couple of times and stuff. And then one night at dinner, he's about, he was kind of like Brian was there, kind of loopy, drunk. And he says he's had trouble with the IRS, and he was having problems with his marriage and stuff. And he just said, "I'm not going to go back." And I'm like, "Oh, I hope you're not going to have me drive you somewhere, because it'd be kind of like O.J. Simpson in the white Bronco."
Right.
So he said, "No," he said, "you stay here at the hotel, and I'll take care of this." And I said, "Okay." And he went to Jack and Jerry's Swank's house, and I guess Jerry talked him into. He said, he was going to go out of country where it didn't have any extradition deals, and he says, "And this would be forever." I mean, he says you'd have to change your hair, change your looks, whatever it is. And he finally realized how crazy it was. And
can you see that, Bay?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Mike Henry.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mike Henry. That's him.
Okay. All I see is the blank screens.
But yeah, they it was kind of a different deal. He said, "You stay here at the hotel," and then his attorney contacted me a little bit later on, Bezark, and told me that everything would be over. And in fact, Bezark met me at the hotel and stuff about his, they had Evel Knievel in jail and stuff, and he got to be over there in the medical side where he wasn't in the population and stuff. But he made friends with the prisoners and stuff, and he when he finally got out, he told everybody that that they could party at the Sheraton Universal and stuff, and that was a cluster. If Earl was still alive, he could tell you about it, because he went to that.
Mike, didn't he rent limousines for all the inmates?
Yeah, he rented 12 limousines for the inmates that was on work release with him, and which caused a big stir with the parole guys, because they went over there and told all those guys, said the first one that steps in a limousine, that's violation of your parole or probation and or work release deals. And so nobody took them, but that cost a fortune for those. And I remember before we left and everything, there was an officer that come out and told him, he said, you need to meet with a head parole officer. He called. And so I took him over to the parole office and stuff. And that guy said Evil straight. He says, I know that you were probably thinking good, but he says, don't pull that again. Because he says the first time they'd step in those, that'd be violation of parole and they could lose that and stuff. He says, don't screw that up. And he said, okay. And so he didn't do any other things like that. And then when he finally didn't go back to the jail and stuff and got into court and stuff, I guess he turned himself back in at 3:00. And I remember going to the courts, and everybody does. And Evil showed up in orange jumpsuit and shackled and everything and disheveled and stuff. And he brought him into court and everything. And everybody, the prosecutor, he stood before Judge Edward Rafiti and played his case. He said, it wasn't an escape going across the walls and sirens wailing and everything, but, him not coming back on time and stuff, that's kind of my escape. And Evil got up on the stand and said why he did that. And he said, I had trouble with the IRS and marital problems and stuff. And he said, I just needed to get that ironed out and stuff. And I made a mistake. Well, Judge Edward Rafiti told him, he says, in here, he says, you're Robert C. Knievel with a inmate number. He said, you may be Evel Knievel on the outside, but he said, we're going to treat you as Robert Knievel. And he said, I'm going to give you 3 more months at the honor facility at Mariloma. So that's where they loaded him back in the van. And then that's where I finally, I couldn't escape because remember the telephone credit cards and the drive-up phones you had? Well, they had one of those, and supposedly at this Mariloma honor facility that was like 2 hours from LA. And Evil to get on that and make you use his AT&T credit card to make phone calls. And he called me every day to do something. And and then I'd have to drive out there. He gave a bicycle away, and then he says, I need some posters and everything. And I says, how can I get in to see you? And he says, we take trash out to the honorary deals, take trash out to the deal. So he says, you need to find this trash barrel by the telephone pole and put them inside the trash can. Okay. And that's what I did. I put about 10, 15 posters in there, and we were smuggling stuff into a jail or an honor facility. And,
what after the whole jail situation with Evil finally ended, what was it like afterwards? Because at that point he had lost with the endorsements and stuff like that, and he wasn't really jumping anymore. What was your role at that point, and did your friendship continue on afterwards, or did it fall apart?
When I finally, it says, went back to his hotel room there or his suite where all of his clothes were at, because the sheriff of Universal kept his room. But I stayed with Carl Green. He was in Temecula or Calabasas, California, because he was a car customizer out in California, and he's the one that took care of his cars, and they made a little gopher pickup out of an AMC. He was quite the customizer. He took care of his Stetson Blackhawk. He was original. Him and Gene Winfield had worked on the red Cadillac pickup, and in fact, that's a '74, and I got to help change the front of that, and we put 77 lights in that, headlights in it, to make it look like a newer one. They took the round ones out of it and stuff. But yeah, I owe a lot of stuff to Carl, the late Carl Green, and his wife and Amanda and all this stuff, because I stayed out at their house, and I didn't know them from Adam, and made friends that way.
He was a great guy. I mean, just in a short time on Facebook, he was nice to me, and Amanda's been super. It was great to meet her along with you. And gonna have to get going here in a little bit, but when you think about Evel's career timeline, I mean, as a kid, it felt like he'd always been around, but from roughly 68 with Caesars to 77, only 10 years, and then kind of down in the dumps and then bounce back. I mean, who else can go 10 years of a career and then everybody still is like a big fan and growing like that? It's pretty amazing. I was just talking with somebody about how I wore my Star Wars costume to a parade back in like 91 or 92, and all the kids thought I was Shredder from Ninja Turtles, and the parents are all like, no, this is Darth Vader, kind of thing. And then Star Wars did come back, and I mean, it's kind of Evel kind of did the same thing, only even more so, and that it was sad with his passing for sure, but the thrill of his show and the way he treated kids and the way that he presented himself and you guys as the crew, Mike, you guys always came across as really good guys. I mean, not just, you weren't like shoving kids away, stay away. I mean, everything about all you guys always looks, whether you hear it from third parties or you see it in videos or you hear what people talk about, you kind of helped that image, Mike, and in celebration of Evel's birthday, I mean, that's the thing that we all want to kind of go out on our birthdays with a good image of what we were to everybody as much as we possibly could. So I want to also just quickly thank Latham McKay. I forgot to thank him earlier too, because he befriended me and let me kind of run the booth. And I was again in awe of just like, here's all this stuff. I got to hold the bag that Evel held. I mean, I'm holding this thing that I saw him do in a video, and now I'm holding the same bag. I mean, it's just, I like history too, so that was also cool. And then Alicia showed up. This was in Austin a few years ago at the races at the racetrack, and so Alicia showed up, and I'm like, this little 4-year-old girl in a video is talking to me. She's 30 or whatever. I was blown away. So I'm just a lucky dude just to be in the right place and meet you guys and talk to Henry and talk about things that aren't even Evel Knievel. I mean, sometimes life things happen and has nothing to do with Evel, but he kind of brought us all together to be able to be good friends and support each other, whatever we're going through. So I just want to say thanks. And thanks again, Bay, for inviting me to be on part of the show here.
Absolutely, Cameron. Thank you for all you do.
My pleasure, Cam.
Yep.
You guys take care, and I'll be watching.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Cameron.
Bye.
Mike, something I also too I wanted to talk to you about. As we went through the pandemic last year, something that I was always a fan of, but like I really just sat and I started going through all of them and just watching them and just having a ball and laughing my ass off. And that was the Dean Martin roast. And I was thinking to myself, when they did the Evel roast on the Dean Martin roast specials, were you there for that? Did you have any feeling? No.
The only time that I ever got to meeting celebrities and stuff was Lindsay Wagner and Richard Anderson. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to go on the studio lots and stuff. And I met Telly Savalas in an elevator. At the Sheraton Universal, there's a lot of stars going in and out of there. And then along came Bronson. I think it was a motorcycle deal. What was it? Michael Parks.
Yep.
And he was in the bar and stuff. And he was.
Didn't you tell me once Evel had you run, what was it? Roses out to Bob Hope's wife or something?
Yeah, that was kind of a weird deal. I mean, he used to call and, that jump out in Vegas shoved his hip up about half inch or inch, and all of his shoes had to have a heel put on them. And he calls me from out there at Mariloma on a facility, and he says he can't hardly walk, and And if he does, he walks with a limp. And so I had to take his shoes and find a cobbler there and a shoe guide. And I told him, I said, you know, we need to put a heel on this, you know, half inch or whatever it is. And because Evel had it marked where he wanted it. And this guy says, who, you know, what happened? You know, and I said, well, Evel, oh yeah. And I said, well, he's over here in the honor facility and he needs his shoes and stuff and keep from limping and stuff. And he says, I can do that. So we got those done and took them back over there, and Evel put them on. He said, oh, that's a lot better. So, anyway, he used to go to a lot of golf tournaments, and he knew Bob Hope, and I never met Bob Hope, but he was out cussing, you know, playing his golf deal, and he happened to see Dolores Hope over behind her. I guess he got to think about this in jail, and he didn't want Dolores Hope to think bad things about him. So here I was going to take white roses, a dozen white roses, to Dolores Hope in Toluca Lake house and stuff. But last time I was out there, you know, he gave me a message or something that he wanted, a letter that you said, you need to deliver this personally to Dolores Hope. And when I got all that stuff, and then white roses weren't in stock in LA at the time. So the guy said we could paint them or whatever it is. And he said, I think I might get a hold of somebody. Well, it was getting pretty late at night, and the guy finally came through with it at 5 or 6 p.m. And so I got Carl to go with me to go do those. I said, I don't know, you know. And he says, yeah, I'll go with you. And so went by and picked up the white roses and stuff. We were driving a red Cadillac pickup because I found out that you could drive out around in Beverly Hills and not get stopped. You could park anywhere, you could, you know, because they just knew it was a celebrity's vehicle. But anyway, we drove up to his the Toluca Lake, and I'm like, you know, go up there and rang the doorbell, and the servant came, you know, his guy that worked for him and stuff, and told him what it was. And he says, well, they're up in their house, new house up in Palm Springs. And then, so I said, well, you know, I gave him the roses and stuff, and they won't be back for a couple of days. And then we shoved a letter underneath this folding accordion door into the office. And then I got to talking to Carl, and I said, Evel told me to give that personally to Dolores Hope. I said, so we went back, and he fished it from underneath that door, you know, with a yardstick, and pulled that letter back out. And so it was getting pretty late. So I, 2 hours away from Palm Springs from LA, right? Something like that. Anyway, it was getting late, and we showed up there about 10:30, and we got stopped on the way because I said, you know, we were driving along, you know, I was running 70, 80 miles an hour. And then all of a sudden I seen these headlights in the rearview mirror. I says, I don't know whether that's a cop or it's somebody speeding along like me, but I'm going to slow down. Well, it turned out to be a cop, and they pace everybody. They don't have radar out there. I mean, they didn't. And he pulled us over, you know, and I seen him turn his spotlight around. I thought, uh-oh, here he's going to stop us. You know, I think they were running the tag. But anyway, he pulled us over, and comes up and shines a light in there. And Carl Green's holding a vase of white roses. And he's thinking, I got 2 gay guys stopped here. Yeah. And I told him the story, and he finally let us go. And he said, well, slow her down a little bit. And he says, if it's any consequences to it about it, he says, I'm the only trooper that's out in this area tonight. So he was kind of giving me the free rein to speed if I needed to go. But we showed up to the big building. It wasn't a house, but it was it's fairly large and everything. And I says, so late and everything, I don't want to go up there and deal. Well, a maid come out, and she was taking the trash out. And I said, Carl, do you want to get in? He said, I ain't getting out. So I took the flowers with me and stuff. And I says, excuse me, you know, and I thought, you know, you know, I didn't want to scare her. And I says, these are for Dolores Hope, you know, and from Evel Knievel and stuff. And here's the letter. I said, I'm sure. She said, well, she's already gone to bed. And I said, don't wake her up. You know, I says, but can you give this to her personally and stuff? Oh yeah. Oh, the roses and everything. And so that's what I did. And, you know, I went back and told Evel about it and stuff. And he says, oh, you could have left him at the Bob Hope house. And I'm like, yeah, first time you'd have told me that. That's yeah. But I knew when he told you to do something, it needs to be followed, you know, to the letter of the law. I mean, he jump your shit. I mean, he said there was a right way, a wrong way, and a Knievel way. And he said, as long as you work for me, we'll do it the Knievel way. He said that way, if it's wrong, I can blame myself. So,
did you realize, like, at the time, like, I mean, even like, I'm sure Henry, you might even feel the same way. Like, looking back now compared to like when we were younger, like I was saying, like when I was watching these Bob Hope, you know, the Dean Martin roasts and all. I mean, Evel's there on the level with these Bob Hopes and Dean Martins and Sinatras and Sammy Davis Jr. Like, he's on level with the most iconic, top of the rung of the ladder of entertainment guys.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and you're looking back at it now, you know, 40 years later, and you're like, holy cow! Like, he was that popular. He was that big. He was that big of a deal. And when we were younger, I mean, me and Henry were kids, but I mean, you were in the mix of all that. Did you realize that was going on?
Well, when he first, we went to, he was going to meet us at a club, the club out in LA and stuff. And it wasn't Filthy McNasty's, but it was kind of an upper grade from that. And they went to a booth and everything. And he said, oh yeah, Evel's got a table over here. And Evel hadn't got there yet, but it was Leslie Nielsen sitting at a table. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Leslie Nielsen. I said, I won't act crazy. I says, hello, Mr. Nielsen. How are you? You know, fine. I sat there and I just kept thinking all the way through there. I says, this can't be real. This, but I didn't, you know, immediately, oh, you know, I've seen all your pictures and all that other stuff. You know, can I get an autograph? And at the end of it and stuff, you know, if they would, did you want me to sign something for you? You know, they would ask me about doing. Oh yeah, if you would. And that was the same way on the Sheraton Universal lots. I mean, they kind of opened that up to me because I would, you know, actually work for Evel and stuff, and I could get on the lot and stuff. And Lindsay Wagner was just, I heard she's a pain in the ass to work with, but she treated me just, you know, and that Richard Anderson, he was just like he portrays on the deal. I mean, just super nice. But I got to see behind scenes how, you know, when she was on behind him and they jump over that lake or stuff. Well, they had it on a trailer, and the cameraman would get down real low, and they'd have two people raise that trailer up, you know, with them on it. And I thought, so that's how it's done. So anyway, yeah, it was an awakening, but I just, I never got, Lee and I never got excited. Who was Robbie's mechanic?
Rundle.
Well, not Rundle, but the guy that did put the ramps together, Joe. Joe Little.
Little. I almost said small.
Yeah. But if you ever watch Robbie's jumps, he gets so excited. You know, he's patting, you know, Robbie on the back like he's a big fan, and, you know, and not taking care of the motorcycle. You know, he almost dropped the motorcycle when they jumped from roof to roof, you know, out there, and he had to slide in there.
Party buddy.
Huh?
That's his party buddy.
Yeah. And I thought, I don't want to do that. You know, we're here to take care of his equipment, you know, right. and then whatever it was. And Riemann was the same way. I mean, he would never treat Evel, you know, and pat him on the back like that and hug him, you know, and you know, he made that jump. We might celebrate later on and, you know, and thank him and stuff, but we didn't show that on a deal. We were there for a job, but Lee and I never did do that. You know, he come up there, you know, and subtle and going, good jump, you know, whatever it was. But he wouldn't make the scene like Joe Little did. And
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Henry.
Cameron brought up a good point, and I've thought of this many times, but I'm glad somebody said it. You and John Hood and everybody, all of Evil's drivers and the people I've been connected with that's connected to Evil have always behaved. I mean, you don't have to do this stuff. How many years has this been? You don't have to do this stuff, but you choose to do it. And even if you tell the truth and some of it's not all that flattering, you're not bashing him. You're his friend.
Just telling reality.
Yep.
And
there's nothing wrong with the truth.
And that was a long time ago, and he realized and whatever it was about the mistake in doing that. But you're still on the clock. Yeah. And
you know what? Speaking, I'm in the Evil seat. Okay. I'm the Daredevil, and I got a crew of guys that treat me the same way and walk around, and they will not let anybody badmouth me. Russ and Fred and Teddy, and there's a bunch of them. My son Ethan, they're all really, really protective of me, and you guys are of Evil, and I don't think there's any more of a flattering thing that a person can do, because Evil's not around to do it anymore, and you're not being paid anything for this, but you're still going out of your way to try and make that guy look good. And I'm glad there's some people out there with some integrity like that, and that's one of the great things. John, it's a bummer John's not here, because John Hood is a magnificent thing. Yes. I love that dude.
And Lee, I was hoping Lee was going to be on it.
Yeah. Lee and Ray Gunn, super nice guy.
Well, and of all the people, I don't know that anybody ever, we had a few, drinks, whatever it was, but we never got, drunk and party. Usually crew members and stuff, and
right.
And get drunk and carouse around, and the crack of dawn's not safe from them. So, but all the people, John Hood, Earl Castine, they just never did drink. And that's why, and Larry Monroe, him and his wife, he was straight, he was Earl Castine, drove a truck, for a union deal and got laid off from that. And he'd been doing that years. And then Larry was from Philadelphia. And
Larry emailed me. It's funny. You had asked him to reach out to me, and he did. He emailed me. I was hoping he would be on too. And I was shocked. I was like, wow, Larry's from Philly. That's where I was from.
Well, the first link that you sent me come up with a 404, this is not a deal. And I said, oh man, this is so close and everything. And then all of a sudden I see in the next email that come up and said, try this.
Yeah.
It went directly to it. So maybe he didn't get the second one and didn't get on.
We'll get him on.
Yeah, we're going to do more of these for sure.
Yeah. And Larry Monroe and his wife, Bonnie, they had like 3, 4, 5 albums of pictures that they took. And he's got some videos that he had her go across the street and buy one of the Kodak video, or it was actually a film camera. It wasn't a video camera. So they've got a bunch of deals that they didn't. There's some of the jumps that didn't get televised and stuff, and so there's no record of those. But so they got a few of those.
Wow.
And Lathan's working on a deal been working on the last 3 years, but he said there's some new stuff coming out, unseen deals that happened at the Canyon.
You just shot some stuff for a movie, didn't you?
Huh?
You just shot some stuff for a movie that's being made, didn't you?
Well, I just talked to Lathan, and I said, well, what's this going to be? And he says, well, it's going to be a movie. And I said, a documentary? Well, yeah, it's going to be a movie, a documentary. It's going to be big. And he said, we're we're going around and interviewing everybody. He said that they're going to travel to, I think it's Rhode Island and stuff to get Lee to do that. And I'm supposed to go up to 24th, 25th up to Topeka, and we're going to drive the Caddy pickup. They're going to take it out of the museum and put all the crash car, motorcycles, the Cadillac, and whatever else they had. So Jim Humphreys has got to go up there, and he's the one that actually is taking over for John Mock. You know, John Mock owns that Cadillac pickup, and so Jim Humphreys restored that. So it's kind of his baby and stuff. So he's going to go up there and air the tires up and get the 5-year-old gas out of the car and get it back up and get it started and get it out of there, and so we can go drive it around. And he said it's going to be an active interview. One of us is going to be driving the Cadillac pickup, and they're going to have cameras on there and everything. So
very cool.
Yep. And they've interviewed John Hood. You know, there's not too many. You know, Earl's not around. Ray Gunn's not around. Roger's not around. So they're kind of getting a little thin.
Yeah.
So it's just me and Leroy.
That's how you and I met. You remember how we met, Mike?
Was it before the Letterman thing?
No, it's right around there. I started raising hell on the internet about the condition of Big Red.
Oh, yes. Okay. I didn't meet you in person. Okay.
Right.
I didn't.
And well, we was actually around each other, just didn't know it. We was in Las Vegas in '98 when Robbie did the 30 limo jump, but we crossed paths, but we never talked.
Yeah.
But I started talking about the condition of Big Red and how it was a shame that nobody was doing anything with it. And you started emailing me, you know where that's at? Yeah, I know where it's at. And I told you, and then, you know, just more and more people kept talking and talking. And then all of a sudden this show comes on where they found it.
Yeah.
I knew where it was all along.
They added a little creative writing and stuff like that.
Well,
and then the Storage Wars got what was that big deal with the trucks? They bid on it online.
Yeah.
And there was a big fan there too. I mean, I'm sure he didn't charge him anything to haul that truck, but it went up to it's when Robbie's manager actually owned the truck, and I can't think of his name, but anyway, they took it up there and got it running.
Lowe.
Huh?
Jeff
Rob
Lowe.
Lowe? Yeah.
I helped broker that deal, Latham getting that truck. They had that Storage War show on, and I showed my wife. I said, I got that guy's phone number right, my phone right here. And right as the credits was rolling, I called him. And I asked him, I said, what are you going to do with that truck? And he said, I got a company from Japan that's wanting to chop it up and sell little pieces of it. I said, don't do that.
Who?
Oh, yeah, they're going to pay me X amount of money. I said,
that was low, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I told Lathan, and Lathan said, what? And I put them in contact, and next thing I know, Lathan said, I'm on my way to go get it.
Yep. Yeah. They hauled it up to a place back east for supposedly get it restored. And those guys didn't do anything to it except moving around the yard and stuff. It didn't have brakes on it. And
now, once you've seen that done, is it better now, or was it better then, or did it just take you right back to back in the heyday?
It looks just like it did when I drove it. I mean, exactly.
You've drove it since it's been restored too, right?
Yes. We took it to Butte the last Evil days, and but you can't, the insurance for an antique is just astronomical. And his insurance agent asked him, he says, are you going to drive that on the road? And he says, well, I hope, but he says, if you don't drive it on the road, your insurance premiums will go way down. So they talked Mack Truck into providing 2 flatbed trucks and drivers, and they hauled it to Sturgis, Butte, Los Angeles, Dallas, and unloaded and loaded that back and forth. I drove it in the parade out in Butte and had Brian in the cab up there, him and Robbie Hull. So he was pretty impressed with that. Had Scott Truax in the coach.
I would have loved to have been in that truck.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
but they loaded back up, and then we took it to Sturgis, and there was a big hailstorm out there that was coming, so we parked it beside the big building and stuff. And luckily, it was blowing on the other side of the building, and the big hailstorm. And I thought, here's a new truck that's going to have dents all over it, and they were worried about that for a while, but we took it and pulled it out and put it on display there at Sturgis. And I couldn't stay. I had another job that I was at, and I couldn't stay for the whole thing. When Sturgis, I couldn't believe the deals about Sturgis. That all that he said, you see all that ground out there? He says there'll be tents, there'll be motorhomes, everything. And he says where it takes you 10 minutes to go across town, it'll take you 40 minutes to go across town. I went, yeah, right. Well, it was getting close when I left. There was a whole bunch of motorcycles come in, but after I looked online and stuff, and because that's where Doug Danger actually made a jump that
On Evil's bike.
Yeah. Evil had crashed and stuff, but he did a perfect jump, and then we had a just big tent with a semi display of the Sky Cycle, his leathers, his American Eagle, his XR 750. And he had this big long poster made up, and it was a pretty good display for what it was, but it was pretty impressive. And we parked it beside the big Maltese cross that sits there at Buffalo Chip. And but yeah, it was pretty exciting. But they loaded it back up and took it out to LA. I guess it was for a movie deal. And who's the guy with Johnny? He's with Jackass.
Knoxville.
Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah, Knoxville. He was out there, and John Hood come out there. That's where Lathan met him. He come up to him and he said, "You're never going to believe who we seen out there." And I says, "Who?" And he says, "John Hood." And he says he had the jacket on, and a nylon jacket and stuff. And he says, "I was so glad that he come up and seen him out there." But they parked it on the LA street and stuff for a movie deal that I can't remember which movie it was, Evil Ways or something like that. But that's what they took the truck out there for. And it looked pretty impressive sitting on a city street there in front of the movie house.
My only big red actual memory, and it's a good one, Lathan, who is the owner, curator, restorer, all of this Evil actual stuff. I mean, you walk around the stuff he has, it's not replica, it's the actual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's not, somebody painted a bike up no, this is the real thing. So he was all excited for me to see Big Red, and he told me, he said, "Dude, I can't wait for you to see it. You're going to cry." And he's right. Yep. I did. And we walked in there, and I said, "I want a picture like this." And I had a picture of Evil sitting in Big Red on his, kicked back on his seat, and all the trophies in the background, and the EK on the door and all that. And he said, "Okay." So he pushed everybody, that was looking in the museum. He said, "Come on." He shut the door, and we took that picture. I recreated that picture. And if I don't get to do anything else with that, at least I got to do that. And that was pretty damn cool.
Yep. Well, I remember you took that picture of me and Lee and photoshopped it and put all the Harley shop or the Harley sign above it. And then there was something about when we went out to Lou Ray's home for his birthday. He had a deal out there when that we were going to go up and see Lee up in Rhode Island, I think it is, and meet him at the restaurant. And that's the first time I'd seen Lee for years and years. But we went out, and he says, Lathan had me pose the way I was on that motorcycle back. I don't know when that was at, a long time ago. And he had Lee standing over behind me and stuff in the same pose and everything. And they photoshopped those two deals, a new old picture. And I did that when Earl was still alive. We had a picture of me being 20, 21 years old. And I was in a Harley jacket and standing right beside the truck. And then he was Earl, and he was standing there. So I had them reenact that. And I seen that.
You ever look at those old pictures and think to yourself, now you're reenacting this stuff, you think, how the hell did I get here?
Yeah. Yep. And what I can't believe is that's been almost 50 years ago.
Yeah.
That just amazes me that, it
don't seem like no time.
Well, I'm a dad's age now. I said 69 years old from 20. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever talked to Lathan and stuff, is Crystal called up, and he said, this guy's, she used to call me about different things and stuff. And because I was kind of the go-to guy, because I was there and somebody wanted to know how the parachute release was made. And so I sent you some pictures of that. And it was on Bob Cook's website when he first got doing that. The guy asked me, says, could you send me how it worked and everything? So I did. And, but anyway, she called me back up and she says, I got this guy that called me and he says he's really interested in, doing this. And I'm like, okay. And she said his name's Lathan McKay, and he says he sounds pretty sincere about it, and so I was talking to him, and Lathan just picked my brain on about doing some stuff, and he asked, I said, well, you probably need to get with Carl Green, and maybe you can kind of do that. And he took his number down, and he always talked to me by phone, but he actually went out and visited Carl Green in a snowstorm. He was up in he actually lived in Branson, and had the truck up there in the museum up there, or it was on loan and stuff. But it was but they hit it off with him, and Carl had a lot of stuff. He had some leathers, and he had some stuff from the Sky Cycle because he was the one that actually was taking it apart, when it crashed and stuff. And he said that, he wanted to get the nose to stay on it, and it was about to fall off. And he said, I don't want you to straighten anything, but he said, I want to be able to tour that around and everything, and I don't want that nose to fall off. So he got that to stay on there. And then
Lathan McKay is a fantastic guy. I mean, he's a great guy. I've spent all you guys, Bay will call me 1 o'clock in the morning. We'll sit there and talk for a couple hours. I'll be driving semi. You and me talk. Man, I've heard all kinds of Evel Knievel stories from Mr. Draper here, and he's kind enough to sit there and, talk with me as long as I want.
Yeah.
And I just sit there, oh my God, I can't believe I'm listening to all this.
Yep.
And, Lathan will call, he'll call me out of nowhere. Hey man, what's going on? And he'll tell me what's going on in his life. And I went through the whole.
Well, it's and to not mention Mike Patterson.
Oh yeah, great.
Marilyn Stemp, and then the late attorney up there that bankrolled most of that deal, and then Mike Patterson with restoration, and then Bruce Zimmerman. All those people made it work. They restored the truck. The attorney bought all the big helmets and stuff, or financed it, and Lathan put it all together. And but I just tell everybody the reason that it was in Topeka is because they stepped up to the plate and said that they could restore stuff. And he says, what about building a museum? And he goes, okay. And then he got with an investor and stuff, and they spent $1 million on doing that museum and added on to the building and stuff. And so, but Evel had grand deal about he got hot and cold on that museum stuff. He said, "Oh, museums for fossils and stuff." And at one time, and he says, and then he got back onto it, and somebody talked about doing it, and they started one out in a big hotel out there in MGM or something. And Carl was out there in California at that time, and I said, "Is it really starting?" He said, "Well, they got some construction going, you know." He says, "in part of the hotel," and but everything that he got going, I don't know whether he wanted somebody to bankroll it, and he wanted a big cut of it, but they didn't want to go out on a limb. So to have Patterson and Lathan and all them guys go out on a limb because they didn't know how this was going to do. But seeing that museum, they didn't cut corners on anything.
No,
I mean, it's in fact, they got to be the #1 museum all over the country. I mean, there at one time, they were, you know, the people that had actually put museums together said it was put together right. I mean, he's. Have you ever been to it, Ray?
I haven't been it.
Okay,
been there, yeah.
But it's going to be 2 years before they move it, I guess. But Lathan supposedly said they got a building out in Vegas and getting ready to build it out. So
yeah, I have to get there before they move it.
Out in Vegas, if Lathan does it the way he's done everything before, you know, he does it.
It'll be first class.
The right way, the wrong way, and the Knievel way. And he says, as long as you do something, we're going to do it the Lathan way. But he likes, you know, to make it right. And in fact, on the truck, you know, they could have splashed some paint on that and fixed some, but no, they took it down to a frame off. The engine's been overhauled, which I don't know why they overhauled it. Well, I do know they wanted to put it on tour and stuff and drive around in parades and stuff. But to do all that stuff, you know, to rebuild it had an automatic transmission in it. So they rebuilt the automatic transmission. They replaced the things on the trailer, and then they had all those painters get out there. George Sedlak, and I can't think the other two painters is on that, but that was quite a deal to do that. So letter it and put on there, and then they took all that the Evel Knievel and motorcycle and stuff. They brought pictures and blew them up, and then they made them to scale to move up on the truck.
Okay,
it was quite an operation.
Yeah, I really need to get out and see that before they move it, and then get to Vegas and see the updated one.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Mike, here's a funny story. I you know, everybody has probably seen the interview. You mentioned this person earlier, Johnny Knoxville, when he was promoting the I Am Evil documentary that he had worked on.
Yeah.
He talked about the Wembley crash. When Evil was after the crash, he's on the ground and he kept calling for Frank Gifford. Where's Frank? Where's Frank? And Frank rushes over to him and he bends down. He's like, Evil, what's the matter? He's like, get that broad out of my room. Is that a true story?
That's I don't know. I never did make the Wembley deal, and but that could have been, you know, like, you know, before I pass out, you know, whatever it is, and you know, Evil had a lot of female fans. I mean, that I would have just died for, but they come up, you know, do you know Evil? Yeah, I said, well, yeah, I work for him. So, oh, can you introduce me to him? And I says, no. So, but because at that time, you know, Linda was with him and stuff, and
sure,
and then and Crystal and stuff, because I don't think he wanted to be known as that, and as far as, you know, being friendly with everybody, you know, Evil was just as friendly with you know, females and stuff. In Filthy McNasty's, I remember a big buxom woman come in there, or waitress or something was that, and people were having sign autographs and stuff, and they were signing cocktail napkins and stuff, and she leaned over the table, and being 21 years old, I mean, like, wow, you know, all them cleavage and stuff, and she says, can you autograph, you know, deal? And she said, do you have a cocktail napkin? She goes, you can sign this. She pulled her boob out. And I'm like, whoa. And he took his Sharpie. instead of writing just Evel Knievel, you know, happy landing, he wrote on it, says, happy to see you. You know, he wanted to extend the, you know, the boot out. And Lee and I says, well, we work for him. And he goes, no, you guys aren't signing that. You know, so it was quite an eye-opening deal. And especially Filthy McNasty's. There was lots of bands that played in there that wasn't known and stuff. And then who's the guy that acts like he's he's drunk when he sings? Is it Joe Cocker?
Okay.
He played over at the deal, and I never knew who Joe Cocker. You know, I mean, I thought, what style does he? You know, because he does some weird, like he's paraplegic. You know, you know, he throws his arms around and stuff, and he actually sang in there and dealing, and he come out to be quite the star.
Wow.
Joe Cocker.
What was that ever something to? I mean, it's well known, and you said you know, Evel had a lot of female fans. Did you or feel like yourself or any of the crew feel like you guys were put in a situation that you were not comfortable with Linda being around, or you know, the family being around?
No. In fact, we were, you know, not sworn to secrecy, but you know, it was one of those Vegas don't tell.
Yeah.
The Montana Mafia strikes again.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I remember Evel called us down one time that to the bar, and Roger happened to be with us and stuff. And then this is before Jack Swank come onto the scene, because there was me. Evel called from the bar. He says, "Can you come down here to the bar?" You know, they said there's some gal's boyfriend that's jealous of me, and he's gonna supposedly try to whip my ass. He says, I don't want to get into a big deal with him. So we went down there and showing of force and stuff, and she finally calmed him down, and they left without any incident. But I'm sure that Evel didn't need a backup, because this guy was pretty, but he didn't want to, you know, if Evel doesn't have to get into it, he'll let somebody else do it. It's not, if Evel would have had somebody else beat Saltman up, he would have never been in the trouble that he had. And then if he'd showed a little remorse, Bizarre always told me, he says, I could have got him out without jail time or anything. But he said, no, I didn't. He said, I'd do it again if I had. I'm like, oh, you know, if you don't show remorse, you know, them guys treat you like, you know, you're the plague. But he got that work release deal, you know, and Saltman was not happy about that. But it was the same judge that gave him work release, and he actually violated the judge's order and stuff. Edward Rafidi was not happy with him, and he showed it in court. He said, "I'm going to give you another 3 months out of Mariloma on a facility where you can work it out there." So Evel just kind of ruined everything. I mean, you know, he was on work release, and you know, when he couldn't leave California, but he could do personal appearances and stuff. But he was pretty well, you know, everybody was, you know, he lost the toy deal and dropping him like a hot potato and stuff. But Ideal was going broke, you know, or they were going broke, and then he come along and had the number one selling the toys and stuff. And
right, that
lasted the longest. Evel hadn't lost that. And they immediately, you know, to try to save their toy business and stuff. And they told him, oh, we're not going to go with him anymore. So, and then they went broke. So we went out of business anyway.
Was there ever talks or possible plans at any point, like, you know, to transition from Evel to Robbie, and, you know, let Robbie like really take over and transition the whole crew of you guys to Robbie?
No, it wasn't as far as the crew, but the truck, they painted that post office blue. That's why they put it back red. They made, it was kind of the blue. You see them on postal trucks and stuff. That's the kind of blue that they had, and stripes around it and everything. I think it ruined the looks of it. It didn't look as big, and just looked like everybody else's truck. But that's where Robbie had his own crew. He had Rundle,
Right.
Joe Little, a couple other guys and stuff. So, no, it was not, a transition to doing that. But Evel gave me his truck to use to do that.
Speaking for myself and my crew, got kind of similar situation there, right? Other people wanted to get into the ATV stunt jumping business, and we'll just get you guys to help me, and they all, to a man, they all said, no thanks.
Because that,
why not?
Yeah.
For them.
See, I don't know whether Lee was ever going to do that, because Lee was instrumental in helping design the new trailer to take the ramps from the side, and they made the doors on that, and then that J44 jet cycle and stuff from EJ Potter was kind of Mickey Mouse how he had to start it. I mean, there was two 12-volt batteries. He had this big truck starter and stuff. It had a 90-degree angle on it to start it, and it was kind of a rag deal. I mean, it had these two motorcycle batteries on the side of it that it created the spark, and we never could get aviation fuel, so we used ethyl with a little bit of 2-cycle oil in it, and to fire it up. But Lee helped make it was a dolly with a box made on the bottom for the batteries, and it had a big solenoid on the side of it to push in and start it, but used to touch the cables and the spark and arc and everything. What a pain in the butt. And so he made all the cables go on there and stuff, and as far as hooking it up, that was my job, to get down there and put it in the front of the bike, and when it fired back up and stuff, I would pull it out and hung it back in a cradle that Lee had designed and made on there.
Were you around for the Hell's Angel deal?
Nope. That was Gene Sullivan, and I think Leroy was there, but I don't know whether Roger was there or not. But yeah, that looked like that was a clutch. I was glad I wasn't there.
That would have been interesting for sure.
Yeah, they I can't think of his name. He was a promoter at Ken. He's with the Cyclorama guys. But anyway, he put on a deal up at New York County Coliseum, Nassau County Coliseum, and it was in a small space, and I guess they got in a pissing contest about there wasn't seats or something else, and they'd ordered bleachers and stuff, and then Knievel said, I don't trust the gate people and stuff, and I want my money now, because he says, after I crash, he says it could be up. It was, they could do anything, and he always wanted the receipts up front, his payment, and so he come out and made that announcement, and he got back in his coach. Well, it was starting to piss all the bikers off. We can't see him anyway. And he said, we paid good money to get in here. And I said, okay. Well, at the end of it, there were some guys that come over, and I went and got a big mace canister in case they stormed the bikes or whatever it was. And but I can't think of I wish I could think of it. But anyway, Ken Deal was the promoter. He was from Chicago, so he naturally carried a gun. So he was walking through the crowd, and they knew him, and they were going to, he never could get the guys to get the receipts and stuff. So he was walking back through the crowd to get back over to the other place, and they surrounded him, and I think I said, well, we'll just get it out. And he whips out the gun and everything. He said, well, who's going to be the first 6, and they all backed up. You could go the semi through there. And he come over there and he had an office that they had put in the Coliseum and had him use, and they had a safe in there. Then he threw that gun in that safe, and because they knew they were going to call the police, and they come, and he used to have a big guy named Seth Westring, and so Leroy had left, left the building, and he wasn't there for that, and I had made friends with this Ken and his Seth Westring and stuff. But anyway, the police come out here, and we had dropped the canisters behind the hay bales and stuff that Evel was going to hit if he, couldn't get stopped. And they found those. I said, "Well, did you see the promoter come over here and have a gun?" I says, "He come running by. Says, as far as I know, he didn't have a gun." And that's what Seth Westring, he was, and Seth Westring had been a big guy, had been in trouble before and been in jail and stuff. So he didn't want to talk to the cops either. So yeah, he says, well, anyway, they found the mace canisters, and they couldn't get any other information out about this other promoter with a gun or anything. So they arrested me and Seth and Ken Brown. That's who it is, Ken Brown. And they handcuffed us all together and stuff. And they arrested us for possession of a noxious gas. Thought, what?
You can do that just going to a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah. And they arrested us all. We went over to the Tombs and got booked into there, and then I missed the next day and everything there at the deal, and then Leroy had to do that. But it was kind of deal. And Ken Brown's wife had to get into Evel's room to get enough bail money to come bail us out.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, it was quite a reality for a 21-year-old, and been getting locked up in the Tombs and the stuff, and they transported us in a van and had us all chained together, and I thought, what did I get into here? So they convened a grand jury, and they took testimony from me, and I told them about I had worked for the sheriff's office and stuff, and I told them about the crowd and stuff, and the mace, and would be a good crowd control deal. And I guess they believed that they didn't pull any indictments. So after disrupting all that stuff, and then Ken Brown paid all the bucks and stuff to keep us and stuff, and it was quite a deal.
50 years ago, now you're still talking about it.
Yep.
Mike,
I've talked to Ken Brown a couple of times, and I said, "Do you have anything that you cyclorama and stuff?" And he was the one. Remember Evel Knievel cycle service, electrocycle service.
Yeah.
The big Sun machines. They made Sun machines. They made a deal for them, and then Ken Brown's associate made the American Motorcycle School. And they used that and promoted that, and that's the next thing on Lathan's deal. He's been looking for a full machine like that. And you got to take some other Sun machines and then actually see what was on I think there was a combustion deal or something like that. And Evel was promoting them, saying, I tuned the bikes on this, and Roger never did use that. So,
Mike, have you ever thought about writing a book about all your experiences with Evel?
Yeah, and it quickly passes.
I brought it up to him a couple of times.
But you don't have to worry about a baseball bat now.
Well, it's like John Hood's supposedly writing a book, and then he's got the guy that called me and says, "Can you give me kind of the story?" He's trying to write a book behind the scenes, not up in front and everything, and what he did, and how he had to stay in the bottom of the canyon, because the helicopter didn't come back and get him, and
that hysterical story.
Yeah, and that's the kind of book that he's going to write.
Right.
He had the guy that's going to actually edit it and is doing some stuff, and he called me, he said, could you come up with some deals? So I told him about the parking at the side of the road, and trying to get that ticket. And we're speeding along, in the Ferraris and stuff, and got stopped and doing that. So, and I know Lee has told about a couple of times that he's got stopped by with Evil and stuff when he used to be. We escorted or not escorted, but took the Ferraris around, and he needed him somewhere else. And we used to have to follow Evil and stuff. And Lee's got a story about, which one's the fastest, the convertible or the coupe. And so they were doing that and racing along, and I guess Evil had to get on the brakes real hard. So he really ribbed Evil about that. He said, well, I beat you. He said, no, you didn't. So, but yeah, it was, I told somebody about it. I said, when I was following him in Illinois, Linda was with him and stuff. And I hit the brakes about $20 cheaper than what Evil did. Because as soon as I seen his taillights come on, I said, he don't brake for anything. So I immediately shut down, and trooper come by us, yelling on his loudspeaker, pull over up here. And so we did, and we followed him over to a town, and he clocked me about like $20, $30 less than what they did Evil. So, but Evil paid it all and signed a couple of autographs and stuff. And that was another thing about being a celebrity. Him and Swank were out in Vegas and going across the desert and stuff, and they were whipping along, and all of a sudden they come over this roadblock, and a trooper come up, and reached through the window and grabbed around her. And then this big Dodge gunboat pulled up behind us, wheezing and steaming and all this other stuff. He was behind Evil in this Ferrari, and he called it in as a chase, and that's what the roadblock. First thing he ran into, he said, "I never saw you behind me," and I guess this officer reached in the window to punch Evil and or rough him up, whatever it was, for speeding on his highway. And one of the other troopers, he says, "Oh, that's that's Evel Knievel." And so the guy didn't hit him or anything, but he says, "I never knew that guy was chasing me." And I says, and he got off, signing a bunch of posters and never seen a ticket or anything. And I thought, they'd have had to pipe light to me and shoot food to me with a slingshot. They'd so far into jail. Just amazing. But
it seems like those posters went pretty far.
Yeah. Or signing anything. You have it? Can you sign it? Yeah. So, but he always carried posters with him. He wanted to, and
that I love hearing these stories because my life has mirrored him so much. So many ways, car chases and stuff.
Yeah.
The posters. I have posters in my semi right now.
Yeah.
And I deliver police cars all over state of Ohio. And I go to a new police department. And, most of the guys are really cool. 99% of all the officers that I deal with are super cool. Fire departments, all that stuff. But every now and then you get the one grump ass. And they'll get... growling around and that, and I'll get them talking about bikes or whatever. I was actually friends with Evel Knievel. Huh? Yeah, I'm a Daredevil myself. Oh yeah, right. No, seriously. And I'll whip out a poster, and then they're like a 10-year-old little boy.
Yep.
I'm gonna put this on my wall.
Yep.
Then the next time you see them, oh yeah, man, right back here, right, same place. Yep. It's amazing how many doors. Stuff like that open, but to me, I always joke around and say it's the power of being nice.
Well, the same way was Lee and I was in a rest area, and we were going to wait till dark to go past the way station because we were overlinked, and we didn't have a permit and stuff, and we were sitting there talking about it, and this guy in a white shirt and was open at the top, he had the sleeves rolled up, and he had this 10-year-old son turned out to be his grandson and everything. And Lee and I was kind of like, didn't want to put up with this guy, and he says, is Evil in there? Oh no, he's not in there. And he said, well, I bet his motorcycle's back here. And I said, yeah, they probably, they are. There's 3 of them in there. And he finally says, he handed they walked around the truck, as we were sitting there, and he come over and introduced me. He says, and he handed his card to Leroy, and he says, I'm so-and-so with the superintendent of the highway patrol. This is my grandson. And I said, does your grandson want to look at the motorcycles? Does he want a poster? And he says, and after he got all the tour and stuff, and he says, and you want to see inside the coach and everything? And we gave him the grand deal of it. And he wanted to sit up in the truck, and all that. And later on, he said, and he handed the card to him. He says, if you have any trouble with that way station up here, let me know. So I guess he'd called up and told him about it because they waved us through.
That's great.
So you're right. That's a little kindness goes a long ways.
You betcha.
Yep.
Well, we're closing in on the 2-hour mark, guys, and
wow.
Yeah, the time does fly.
Took 20 minutes to get me on.
Well, actually, two hours of us actually live. So
yeah. Well, Scott was having trouble hooking up.
Yeah, it's I did that interview with Scott a month ago, and he had a lot of connection problems where he's at. Yeah,
Twin Falls is, and he said he talked to people in Hawaii, whatever it is, and the internet changes. It probably loads up tonight, or loaded up tonight and slows it up, and you got to have a lot of bandwidth to stream audio and everything else. And but I noticed Africa, every once in a while, it would, kind of stop. But
freeze up.
I was pretty impressed, coming all the way from Africa, that stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Brian,
well, Mike,
he's a great guy.
He is. Yeah. I mean, I wish Scott was able to be on here with us. I know he's got some
we'll do it again.
Fun stories.
I'm down.
For sure. I think we should do another one like after the holidays or early in the new year. And we got to try to get Lee on here, John Hood. And more. Got to get Lathan on here too.
Oh yeah. He said after his movie stuff was done, he would be interested in get back on.
Yeah, he's got his plate full.
Yeah.
And for scheduling and whatever it is, because he said, like you said, he's been working on this for 2 years, and it is to get all the film crews up, locations, scripts, people that have to be into the reenactment and stuff, and Robbie Hull and yeah.
Did you guys just hear that? You didn't hear that?
No.
Sound like a herd of racehorses running down the hallway.
Oh, that's your big Pitbull.
That's my Pitbull running back. He's wanting to see Dad.
Yeah. Was that him barking a while ago?
Yes. Mom showed up.
Yep.
Yeah, he heard Mommy pulling in the driveway. So.
Yep.
Well,
Ray, I enjoyed it, and we'll have to do it another time.
Absolutely, Mike. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Mike, great seeing
all these
you, buddy.
stories. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Henry, thanks to you for hanging out for this and talking me into doing this again. And
I'd do this every other night if you wanted. I love it.
Oh, I know. Me too. And thanks to Brian out there in South Africa, enjoying his birthday and Evil's birthday, and Cameron for being part of this. And Cameron does a lot of work in the Evil community. And
and Scott Truax for building a rocket.
Absolutely.
He can do that, but he can't get on the internet.
Yep.
All right, boys. You guys have a good night.
You too. Okay. Take care, guys. And thanks for everybody for tuning in. We got a lot of comments and messages from people and all. People are enjoying this and having a ball. And like I said, in the new year, we're going to do this again. Have another. We'll have a belated Evil birthday celebration. And hey, Evil, thank you for all you've done for us, the memories, and happy birthday, Evil.
Oh, did those comments and stuff? People that called in and made comments. Is that on your website?
It's all actually in Facebook and on YouTube. People on both sides. Yep.
Well, I'll look on Facebook then. Okay.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thanks everybody.
You, boys.
Thank you.
Talk to you all soon.
Have a good night.